Hey, high school literacy leaders. This is DLC Foster Yankee, and I would like to welcome you back to Curriculum Chats. In this video, I'll be discussing the fourth lesson in the third section of the Friday Night Lights unit. So that should be a number 4. Here are the goals, TEKS, and ELPs for this lesson. Students will analyze the effects of rhetorical devices on the way the text is read and understood, as well as characteristics of Bissinger's and Papano and McDonough's characteristics of theses, strong supporting evidence, and commentary in their texts. Finally, they will evaluate how Bissinger's and Papano and McDonough's use of language informs and shapes the perception of readers of the text. The texts for this lesson are H.G. Bissinger's Friday Night Lights, and again, the article from the Christian Science Monitor titled Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal. The tools for this lesson are the Evaluating Ideas, Mentor Sentence Journal, and Vocabulary Journal tools, as well as the Friday Night Lights Section 3 question set. For the lesson overview, we will review our analysis of women and men in sports, separate is not equal. We will then read part 2 of chapter 9 of Friday Night Lights as a class and discuss text-dependent questions. We will analyze how Bissinger uses evidence and rhetoric to present his perspective on the values and political views of Odessa. So now we'll take a closer look at the 4 activities that make up lesson 4. For activity 1, students review the Evaluating Ideas tool they completed with their groups for the article, Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal. They review the author's claim they identified, the evidence they identified that supported the author's claim, and their analysis and evaluation of this evidence and claim. Then they write at least a 1-paragraph response to the question on the screen. Did the authors effectively support their claims in Women and Men in Sports, Separate is Not Equal? Why or why not? Use evidence from the text to support your answer. So they are recording that 1-paragraph response in their learning logs. Purpose: students are applying knowledge about identifying claims, identifying supporting evidence, and evaluating both from previous lessons to this prompt. Although this is a complex task, the response should not be long. The intent is for students to start synthesizing and evaluating information for the section diagnostic. Suggested supports: if students demonstrate difficulty with writing, the teacher should determine where they are struggling and whether they need additional support with finding textual evidence or elaborating on the evidence and how it connects to their claim. Or do they need support writing at the sentence level, in which case it would probably be helpful to provide some sentence stems. For activity 2, students discuss the term rhetoric and how authors use rhetoric in their writing, then write down the term in their vocabulary journals. Next, they read part 2 of chapter 9 in Friday Night Lights. As they are reading the chapter, they annotate the text for examples of rhetoric Bissinger uses. Finally, the class answers and discusses text-dependent questions from the Section 3 question set. Suggested supports: Chapter 9 of Friday Night Lights includes many references that might need explanation when Part 2 is being read aloud. It is suggested that the teacher explain the following topics when Part 2 is being read in class. Those are the S&L loan scandal, Morton Downey, ACLU, and John Birch Society. If students are unfamiliar with the concepts of rhetoric and style, the teacher might extend this activity by having students examine the style reference guide. If time is an issue, the teacher might assign each question to a different group. Once groups have analyzed the text and answered the question, they can share their understanding with the whole class. So a jigsaw. As students read aloud and discuss and answer and discuss part 2 of chapter 9, the teacher should monitor and formatively assess students' understanding of the text and the skills they are acquiring. The teacher might also provide scaffolded questions if students are struggling with comprehension. In activity 3, students read the selection on the screen, which is this quote here, from chapter 9. Then the class discusses how this sentence is an example of the author's use of rhetoric to describe the people of Odessa using the set of questions in white. The purpose of this activity is analyzing model sentences, as in this activity, Allow students to understand how authors use sentence structure, such as parallel structure and word choice, to develop meaning. This will benefit student comprehension of the text and their own writing. Model sentences help students understand what effective writing looks like. Suggested supports would be to encourage students to write the sentence down in their mentor sentence journal. The journal is a consistent place to collect writing strategies, which can be referenced when writing their responses to the section diagnostics and the culminating task. In Activity 4, students read and annotate Chapter 10, paying close attention to how Bissinger uses rhetoric to advance his perspective. They also write new or interesting words in their vocabulary journals and sentences that stand out to them as interesting or that represent a strong example of a particular concept they have learned in their mentor sentence journals. The purpose of this activity is this is the final reading for this section. As a formative assessment, students could write a summary of what they read, including an analysis of the author's use of rhetoric in this chapter. In Activity 5, students read and annotate Part 1 of Chapter 9 in Friday Night Lights, paying attention to how Bissinger's perspective on gender roles is further developed. They also write new or interesting words in their vocabulary journal and sentences that stand out to them as interesting or that represent a strong example of a particular concept they have learned in their mentor sentence journals. Right, so for our cub, students will know the meaning of rhetoric, perspective, and tone. They will understand how Bissinger's use of language informs and shapes the perception of readers and be able to, this is a long one, identify how Bissinger uses rhetoric to develop his perspective and tone by discussing the following questions. So I got those from, I think it's Activity 4. The questions: what is he saying about the people of Odessa, and how does the structure of the sentence emphasize his meaning? About the quote, they liked George Bush in the same way they liked Ronald Reagan, not because of the type of America actually created for them, but because of the type of America he so vividly imagined. So I just took what was in that activity and made that the formative assessment, the be able to. On that note, that's a wrap for this video. I welcome your feedback and look forward to hearing from you either on Twitter, via email, or in the comments. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe so you never have to worry about missing a video. Thanks for watching.